Hello and welcome to the Conference21 Weekly Round Table. Our guest today is Keith Besherse. We have two other guests who I believe are on the way, but due to technical difficulties, I am not able to access my email to let them know they're supposed to be coming. I've definitely been having some internet challenges today, and I don't know how Keith's been doing the internet, but my computer's been quite crabby. So there we are. But Keith is here, so 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Welcome to the show, Keith. Of course, you were a speaker at Conference 21A, and hopefully you'll be joining us again at Conference 21B in May. So for those who do not know you, tell the fine folks at home a little bit about yourself.
Well, awesome. So where do I want to start? Sure. So I was active duty for over 24 years, and I thought I would take that experience and be an operations manager in either transportation or manufacturing industries. And there's a slightly longer version of the story, but the medium-length version of the story is I met a gentleman who was a former naval person, sailor. There we go, sailor. And he says, I've got this print shop. It's my second business. It's time for me to start transitioning, retire from both businesses, and I don't have a succession plan for this second business. Come run my print shop for me. And I said, why would anyone want to be in printing in the 21st century? And after hemming and hawing for a little bit, most of 6 months, I said, okay, let me try this out and see what it looks like. And what I discovered during that experience was I got a chance to do production management, operations management in the civilian world, manage employees. But what I discovered is what I really liked doing was having conversations with small business owners about what their marketing plan looked like. The problem for them and for me was in the back of my mind, I'm always trying to steer the conversation over to printing. When it came time for him to, thank you, I'm not in the, so you got the joke or the point. When it came time for him to sell it and for me to move on so that he could sell it, I said, well, what do I do next? And I rebranding myself as this marketing generalist, marketing consultant, and instead of having all these possible components of printing, of a marketing program of which print is just one, I have multiple avenues available, multiple channels available. Once we know what the message is and what the audience is, now we can look at all the different channels and say, okay, where can we reach that audience with that message? And of all of those things, I don't do 2 or 3, but I do enough that something in there will be monetized. And so it allows me the freedom to just have conversations about, okay, what are you trying to do? Who are you trying to talk to? Can we reframe that thought just a little bit differently? And use that to then and be able to reach your audience. Is that a good decision? And I'm looking on your pages. I'm trying to share. Are you muted?
Having some mic issues there. Okay, what you're saying about the print reminds me, back in my days working for Man Press, I run into the same thing, is that I'd be talking about their strategy, but I always had to shoehorn it into how can this be a print solution? How can it be something we're offering, which is, very much more limited than how can I solve your problem, not how can I make money solving your problem, which are two different conversations, most assuredly.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, if I'm not mistaken, you are on satellite internet, so you have a little bit of latency. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm always going to have a little bit of latency that in there and becomes a a bit of an issue for having two-way simultaneous conversations. If I'm just working the systems, it doesn't get an issue, but for two-way chat, there's always this pause between when I'm thinking I'm done talking and when the next person needs to start talking.
Yep. Yeah, so I want to let the folks at home know if we're talking over each other, that's why. It's not just that I'm rude and talking over Keith. There's a latency on the connection, which makes it quirky
on my end.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've got a nice wire that runs into the wall, that then runs to the pole, and all with pieces of whatever Cat 6 cable is made of these days. Fiber? Is it fiber? I don't know. Anyway. So Keith, share with us a little bit about what you talked about at the conference, and maybe some of the most important things that people out there need to know about getting a message out.
Yeah. So at the conference, what the theme of my message is simple tasks that a small business owner or manager could do for themselves to start getting a better marketing reach. So the thing with reviews is too many people, they are getting good reviews. Let me back up. Let me do it. So basically, the topics are reviews, reach for your scheduled posts, and advertising, right? And the issue with reputation management or reviews management is there are these companies out there that are getting good reviews, but they're not doing anything with them. Those reviews are showing up in Google or in Facebook or TripAdvisor or Angie's List or wherever, and the owner isn't responding to them. So the reputation management portion, one, two, when they are, two is out there. When they are responding, the best they're doing is they're copying the content and they're pasting it on their website, and they're saying, "Hey, look what people say about me." Passive way to use that valuable social proof. Much better is to share it to your social media. There are some tools out there that automatically share that to your social media, so you can post it to your website, you can share it out to your social media. I would recommend that you not do that be your only social media content, because very quickly all that your channel shows is, here's my series of reviews, and it doesn't show any interaction with human beings. And we'll get back to that engagement topic. Engagement, reviews, reach, advertising, engagement. When next step is actually when you're putting that review on your social media channel, at best you're getting 3, 4, 5% of your followers are going to actually see that. Better is you ask that person that gave you the review, "Thank you for that review. I really appreciate it. You're showing the confidence in us. Would you mind sharing that with your audience?" Now, suddenly, not only are you talking to the people who are following your page, you're talking to people, their friends, their family, their followers. And yes, I have a tool that automates that process, so that if you're out busy running a business, you're taking care of people's roofs, you're taking care of yards, you're home inspection, you're crawling in their crawl spaces, remembering to do all that, get on your cell phone and send them that text and ask them for that, is distracting. Your brain is doing too many things, and you end up not remembering to do it. So I have a system that allows you to do all of that process without consciously thinking about it. The system's just running in the background. reach, which is what I'll talk about mostly today, or specifically what I want to talk about today. So I'll come back to it. The issue with social media advertising, a lot of people are paying the social media platform for boosting a post or sponsoring a post, but they're doing it because the platform said that particular post is getting good responses. You should boost it. Well, the platform at that point gives you very limited ability to target, and it gives you so it gives you very limited ability to target, and it basically is putting that at people who I would call cappy. Might be me. What I mean by that is the platform is incentivized to put that ad in front of people who will pay for that click, or who will click because they get paid for the click. They don't get paid for whether or not you get a purchase. So the main thing that we do at the Lead Leader is make sure that, one, you have this solid foundation of your brand, so when people come do their due diligence and see who you are, they in fact find somebody who's credible. But two, when we do start running social media advertising, we do it in a very targeted way so that it is showing up in front of people who are your ideal customer. That's why the conversation about the message and the audience first, so that we aren't putting the ad in front of anyone, putting that in front of the right audience. What else did I say I was going to talk about?
Let's see. We had reviews, reach, and advertising.
Yeah. So the main thing that I talked about in Conference 21 Alpha was the time version of engagement that allows you to start being a person, not a advertiser in social media. And I have a really straightforward, simple method that I recommend. I recommend you go into a group where you're a person, not an advertiser. I love that. Where your market is, where your potential audience is. So if you're a landscaper, being in that are in your local community, that are just commercial groups, buy, sell, trade kind of groups, being neighbor in your neighborhood, reaching out in your neighborhood, and then just engaging, having conversations with people. Someone posts something, don't just like and drive away. Click the like, but add a comment. Say, I appreciate that, and sometimes that's enough. Because you're trying to be seen by the rest of the group as someone who's actively participating. When you have an opportunity to give a referral, someone comes on the line and they says, I need such and such. Absolutely. Say, hey, I know so and so. I know this other person. Just try to connect people. A lot of times the way I do it is I'll find, well, hello, cat. I'll find a post that interests me, and I'll really go down and I'll comment on everybody who has responded. A lot of times you'll get groups where the people will ask, so what do you do? And people will respond, this is my link. I'll go to their link, I'll look at their thing, I'll like something on their page, and then I'll come back and say, hey, I like that thing. I appreciate what you're doing. It takes 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe, but it shows you as being a person who's involved and interested in what other people are doing. That's what I spent most of my time during Conference 21 the first time talking about. I recently then I wrote a paper. I'm working on my MBA, and I wrote a paper basically talking about how to get organic reach with your social media is paid advertising. And it works really well if you have a group of people who are already committed to supporting each other's businesses. So you and I know each other through BNI. If your BNI chapter says, we have this other channel, we have our WhatsApp channel or whatever, where we talk, someone puts a post up about their business over in your channel, you say, hey, guys, I just posted about such and such a topic in my subject area. Your friends then jump on the page and like it and comment on it. That suddenly starts telling the platform that this content has value. Now, instead of talking the 3-5-7% of your audience who's going to see any given post, what the algorithm does, and this is really the point, is understanding the algorithm actually works. The algorithm does exactly what it's supposed to do. It shows you and it shows me what you're interested in and what I'm interested in. And there's all kinds of content that's on your social media feed that I don't see. And there's all kinds of content on my feed that you don't see, because the algorithm knows that although we're interested in each other, we're not interested in that, or we're not interested in this, or at least it thinks that. While it knows that each of us is going to be on that platform for a fairly limited amount of time, and it wants to give us as much of what we see as we can. So what happens with people who are trying to use organic reach to tell a particular audience something is the audience actually mildly interested in what you're saying. They're less interested in what you're saying than you think they are. They're interested in what they're saying. But if you can get the platform to start thinking that what you're saying is significantly important to a significant number of people, it's more likely to show them. Even then, if they don't interact with it on a regular basis, it's not going to start feeding it to them on a regular basis. So the platform, understand how the platform thinks. People talk about Google changes their algorithm 300 times a year. Whatever the number is all material, because as long as you understand the concept that it's trying to accomplish, you can adapt your behavior to work within that constraint. All of this discussion, actually, I'm going to pause for a second because I'm going to change the perspective here for a second. So I'll give you a chance to feedback if all of that has been communicating effectively.
Seem to have muted again. That was some great concepts about the importance of engagement and the importance of unmuting yourself when speaking. So many people just kind of dump information out there, but especially that behind the scenes second channel coordination. So working with a group, whether it's BNI networking group, other business associates, whatever, that when you post something that everyone hops on there and comments and likes and engages, and then Facebook says, oh, look, that must be a trending post. We should make sure more people see it, because Facebook's all about wanting to make sure that there is that they will keep your eyes glued to the screen. So it keeps that engagement going, which unfortunately that phenomenon is what leads contentious posts to rank higher, because if you're arguing about something, then that's going to, person argues on the right and you get that comment, and that next person argues on the left, and then someone argues on the right and left. You got to keep going. You can't stop arguing while someone's being wrong on the internet. So it keeps those things trending. And unfortunately, it does not work well for business, because you don't want people on your business posts. That does not support your agenda in any useful way. Working that engagement, getting people talking about it is certainly so. And also, another valuable thing is posting questions. Posting things that people want to respond to. Yeah, no one needs to respond to a statement, but if there's a question, anything from what are you doing this weekend to what's the biggest problem in your business to, whatever, it lets people be part of the conversation. And if you have the right kind of question, they'll kind of start going back and forth. And it's not quite as good as a political argument, but almost as good for generating some of that activity.
Right. And those questions, when either yourself or when one of your associates posts those questions, getting in there and using that as an opportunity, yes, answering it for yourself, but then responding to other people's answers to those questions is a great way to be a participant or to be people, not just a profile. Yeah. So, so one of the things that people in the marketing space say is email is a lot more valuable than social media followers. And someone who's opted in to your mail list is a much higher value of permission marketing, to use a branded copyrighted term, than someone who is a follower, especially a passive follower on your business social media page. That email list is where you share particular pieces. Here's your audience that is your core followers. If you having their emails is much more direct than having social media profiles, their social handles. If we're going to talk Twitter. The algorithm is trying to decide whether that is valuable to them, or based on their other behavior. So I think people who are trying to use social media as a broadcast platform and expecting that all of their audience, let's use a different medium as an example. If your audience lives in a local community and the local community has an AM station, you can put an announcement on your AM station and you still don't know whether your neighbors heard that message, because they may or may not have had the radio turned on at that particular moment that your message was there. And I think that's where some people who are trying to use social media as their primary communication platform are thinking of it. They're thinking of it too much from their own perspective, right? They're thinking, I put this message out. I put it out in 4 different places. Obviously, my tribe is all looking at one of those 4, and they saw it. I think it's a little bit misunderstanding or missing it from that user's perspective. Okay. The other thing that I think people are doing on their social media platforms that I understand why they do it, but I think it doesn't really add value, is what I call auto posting. So got a scheduled post system, curation of content, and they're posting this to their social media platform just like they might post their reviews as those reviews come in. I think there's value in that there's content on the page, so that when somebody does come check you, they do their due diligence. They see an entity that has credibility in that particular space. The problem is if that's the only thing that's on your page, or that's your auto-posted reviews are the only thing that's on your page. Again, people can tell very quickly this business page is not reflecting person's participation. They're not being social. They're just broadcasting information. In a world that's inundated by 3,000 to 9,000 commercial messages a day, every single one of us, although that might not be a paid advertisement, we all know it's a commercial message, and it's just an already noise-saturated environment.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I wrote a blog article some time ago, and I can't remember where I put it, but and it's not quite so bad. I don't see it so much anymore, but there are these services that will manage your social media page, and by manage, I mean automatically upload random garbage to it. And I went to, I looked for a realtor in Ohio because that's far away from here in Connecticut. And I didn't want to accidentally grab someone who's in my network, but I searched for Realtor Ohio on Facebook. I only had to go to either 2 or 3 pages before I found one of these. And the page was nothing but listings of houses, newly listed, and random articles that were clearly uploaded by some company. One of them was like Cuban recipes. And this guy is white as white can be from the middle of Ohio. If this guy has ever eaten Cuban food, I would be very surprised. And he's got like Cuban recipes and something about wind sailing, and the problem is, for the most part, people are going to ignore it as junk. Worst case scenario is going to run into somebody who's going to be like, "Oh, you're into Cuban food too?" And now he's either got to admit that no, that's not authentic, and somebody else manages my social media, or worse, he's got to try to be the person his page is, which of course he isn't. That's insincere. But so many people don't understand social media, and so many people who just fork over money. And it's funny. I was actually approached by someone today on a related topic, doing a strategy called sell by chat, which is actually a pretty good strategy. I've used it to great effect when used right. But it's basically you reach out to someone by chat and you ask them a series of questions to establish if they're a good prospect and what they need, and if what they need matches what you have to offer. And then sort of you put up some guardrails in the conversation so they wander themselves down the path to where they want to get to know you better. And certain keys to it, like never ask a yes or no question. It always has to be a this or that, never a yes or no. So, are you using organic or paid advertising? Or do you work mostly with individuals or companies? Those kinds of questions that kind of work you down the road. And it was very interesting because, of course, I'll talk to anyone who reaches out to me trying to sell me something. I'll have a half hour. I will literally have a half-hour conversation with anyone who asks for it. Even say, I'd like to try to sell you something. Can I have some of your time? I'll be like, 30 minutes is yours. Let's see what we can do with it. Because I never know when it's going to be a valuable networking contact or someone to work with. And so this person, as I'm trying to engage with them, because I can see they're doing sell by chat. I've done it myself. I've taught it. I know it when I see it. And she eventually, admitted, she's like, yeah, that first few exchanges, you weren't talking to me. You're talking to my VA who was running the script. And I jumped in because I didn't like the way it was going, because obviously I'm not following the script, and the VA is just going, ah! And a good VA will then be like, hey, I need you to jump in on this conversation. This is a real human and not a prospect. You need to talk to them. But it was interesting because obviously this person, and this person's in marketing, obviously this person didn't know how the system worked. It was new to them. They hired someone to do it. And they explained to me that they actually hired someone to write the script and do everything for them. So they wrote the script, handed it to the VA, and it was supposed to run itself. And of course, you can't automate your cold prospecting like that, or you can, but it gets a little dicey when you're doing it off your personal, off your first personal Facebook account with someone else speaking for you in your name. And it's just really interesting to see that, and to see there's so many things out there where someone's like, oh, just give me money and I'll take care of it for you, and it'll be fully automated and don't worry about it. And you can, and of course, I don't know her. So if her VA screwed up that conversation, she messed up with a stranger. I'm just going to unfriend her and move on. But at the same time, there's an opportunity, in that conversation, the fact that I run a conference that she could speak at never came up because she didn't engage in the conversation. There's opportunities that was not able to capitalize on because it was such an automated system. So I think that's one of the dangers with the complexity of this and not understanding it. And it's so complex. She's in the marketing business, so she understands marketing and social media, but there's just so many nuances and strategies and different ways to do things that no matter how much you think you know, there's always more for you to not know, and there's always ways to get in trouble and step in it, no matter how much you think you know.
Yeah, for sure. I can totally imagine. It's probably already happened, but if it hasn't, it will happen soon. That two chatbots have each other and tried to sell each other something, and it's like there's a place for automation, and that's where I come in. That's the kind of thing that I sell, but only when and where it makes sense. And only to the extent that it sets people up for actual human conversation. The point you made just now about the example you used just now, where the person didn't even realize there was an opportunity because the script didn't give them a chance to didn't ask the question from your perspective. The script was entirely written from their perspective, trying to sell a thing, instead of having a conversation. And I think we get so excited about our silver bullets, and I would argue there is no silver bullet. But everybody with marketing gizmo, and the technology is such that it allows us to do those things, but they're selling these marketing gizmos, widgets, and whatever they call them, chatbot. They're selling them as if they're a magic wand, and there's no magic wand to human relationships. There's people, and each of us is unique. Each of us has unique wants, needs, desires, perspectives. One of the articles that I quoted in my most recent, an article that I quoted in my article, I guess that's redundantly, I don't know, a blog post that I quoted in my article. The point that writer, Robert Nissenbaum, the point he made, since I've got his name, ESO Media, here in Washington State. Robert Nissenbaum, the point he was making is that people build relationships with other people, and they will make purchases that are emotional based on what I want, and then they'll justify them with logic, benefits, and features. The problem with most of us who are trying to sell a widget of kind, we're talking about, we're filling that chat or the VA script that we're filling that script with the features and benefits, and we're so busy trying to sell the features and benefits that we're never getting to the emotional human reason why we actually would make that purchase in the first place.
Yeah, well, and the sell by chat concept is very powerful because it's all about asking questions of, what are your goals? What are the challenges you're facing? What would help you achieve those goals? Things that are really powerful because they're all about the prospect and not about what you're selling. The challenge is when you hire someone else to do it for you, and they write a script, and that script is handed off to a VA who doesn't really know your business that well. A VA is basically just a slightly more unpredictable bot, basically, because they don't know your business, so you're just telling them follow the script. You might as well use a chat bot in that case. And just like anything, you need to program them better or train them better so that if you're using a VA for that, they have to know, like, if it seems like an interesting person but you don't know what to talk to them about, you need to hand it back to the real person, because all their job is, the reason you have VA do it is they can train them. They can reach out to 50 people and find the 6 who are worth talking to. So the 6 who are worth your time. And they need to you really need to kind of know what it's for and what it's generating, because it's a black box like anything else. It's going to generate viable leads that could turn into something. So, and of course, the crazy thing is also, it always amazes me because Sell by Chat, the goal of it is to get into a call, to get into a strategy session. And remember, I will take a 30-minute call with anyone who asks for it. So it always blows my mind when people fail to get me on a call. Like, you literally just had to say, could we get on a 30-minute call? And I would say, yes. That's the approach that is necessary of me.
Here's my calendar.
Yep. Yeah, and that's your system should also.
Here's my calendar, or I'll use yours.
Yeah, for the person who's willing to talk to you no matter what, the system should not break down. It should not. Now, conceivably, I'm not a good prospect, but maybe I am. I mean, ask me now. I don't think I'm a good prospect. If she were to say, "Do you want these services?" I'd be like, "No, I don't." That doesn't appeal to me. Partly because of the buzzword. It said we help coaches build 7-figure businesses, and if there's one thing that smells like BS to me, it's the phrase 7-figure business. I've yet to meet anyone who had something that was of great value that used the phrase 7-figure business in their marketing, because it's such a fancy buzzword. But if I were to actually talk to her, I might realize what she actually does and say, oh, that I need, that thing, yeah, that could be valuable. But that would require getting on a call, which I don't want to do. So that's like, what? Yeah, actually, I offered the call, and she's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, huh? So why are we here? Why did you message me? Why did your VA message me? I mean, I was kind of flipping it, because I was like, I can help you with this, because your sales strategy is so close to good, but not. You want some help? Because I've actually sold doing what you're trying to do. And she's like, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. You went so far as to make the offer, and she literally rejected the offer.
I get the sense that she didn't really want to use this strategy in the first place, and probably someone talked her into it, because I think she was uncomfortable with the which makes sense. If someone comes to you and says, "Hey, we got this great strategy. We're going to write a script. Someone who's not you is going to log into your Facebook account and message people as you." I'm pretty uncomfortable with that concept right now. Like, just from what we're starting with. I don't think I'd want. I've done it for other people. I've logged into their accounts to do, to sell on their behalf, and I was uncomfortable with that. But they were paying me, so it's their name, not mine. So if I screwed it up, no one would ever know it was me. But I could see how that could cause a good, honest person trepidation. But it's just things are so arcane now. It's not like it used to be in the time long before I was in business. But when you could understand how things work because they're very out in the open, you understand how a TV ad works. You can flip to the channel and see the same ad everyone else sees when everyone else sees it. Social media is like, is my ad even running? I don't know. Is Facebook lying to me about the numbers? I don't know. So it's tricky with all this kind of targeted marketing. Is it real? Does it work? I don't know. That's why my podcast has been so exciting, because I'm getting people emailing me back. I know if I miss a day with the Morning Motivation podcast, I will get at least one email from someone saying, "Hey, where's your podcast? I needed that this morning." So I know it's working. I don't know how it works. I don't know where people are listening to it. The download numbers are higher than anything I can account for. So I don't know who's listening, but somebody's listening. And some people, including I think you may have messaged me at some point when I missed today. People will message me when they miss the podcast. So I know that. But so many other things I've tried, I'm like, I don't know if this worked. Maybe it worked and I didn't engage with it properly. Maybe it didn't work. Maybe people saw it. Maybe they saw it but didn't respond to the message. I don't know. Who knows what's working? So that's kind of one of the big challenges in the modern marketing world. And speaking of which, here's the link for the motivation podcast that everyone can't live without.
Right there.
Go there.
Right there.
You'll get an email today.
And it's, I think you've done one or two that's over 5 minutes, maybe 6 or 7, but almost all of them are 2 to 4 minutes.
2 to 5 is the target range.
Right, and the thing is, I've seen a couple of 6 minutes, but really they're a great way to start the day. One. And how my day is going, a way to end the day sometimes, but you post them at morning your time, and it's actually, I'm just about going to bed, and it works out pretty
that's really true. Yes. It's 12:30 a.m. Eastern, so I guess it'd be 9:30 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah. Because you want it there, you're putting it out so that it's there whenever someone gets up, not you're putting out when you start moving around at 6 a.m. or whatever that time is. You're putting it out so that whenever they start moving, it's there waiting for them. So one of the things I really appreciate about it is,
go ahead.
One of the things I really appreciate that there are some that are kind of a little bit rah because that's what motivation is, right? They're let's go, yay team. But most of them are very much, and this is partially your personality and part of why we connect well. Most of those morning motivations are you can do that. No, seriously, dude, you're good. You have the skills. You have the capacity to do what it is you're called to do. Just go do it. Just go do it. Remember, you need to just go do it. And for me, that's a very valuable theme in the way you present those motivational messages. And so I really appreciate them. I really do. That's part of I'm not religious about listening to them. I say listening to them. I'm probably getting 2 to 3 of them a week on a consistent basis. When I is the one I needed. So that thing that you do is something that's very valuable to me as one of your audience members. So I appreciate you putting those out consistently like you do.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad they do it. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of those serendipity
there we
stories.
Go again.
Like
motive.
Yeah. A lot of serendipity stories are like the one this morning was just the one I needed today, like magic. So yeah, there's some serendipitous effect in when they happen to, and there's no planning. It is I record a series in a row, and whatever comes to mind, I'll go through the music library and listen, and they're like, oh, I like that one. Okay. Boom. And then I hit record and start talking, and the message comes out, and then I upload it, and it is whatever the next day is. So if it's the one for March 24th, that's the one going out March 24th. I very rarely think about, this will go out on this day, so let me make sure it's this message for this day. Partly because I want them to be recyclable, so that if I don't have one ready, I could just grab a random one from last month or 2 months ago and be like, yep, this sounds good. Boop. Throw it out again, because as you say, most people don't listen every single day, so they won't notice if it's February 3rd's message recycled. So I try to avoid putting the date in it so they're reusable. But it also means you can go back to the library anytime, grab a random one, hit play, and it will be relevant to the current day. So that's what I try to do with it. So speaking of days and times, we are coming to the end of ours. So if you have any final comments, I welcome you to share them right now. And somewhere I've linked your website. Where did I put? There it is. There's your website.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to edition Bravo of Conference 21. I think there's a lot of value in the collection of people, and some of those people are very well published speakers, presenters, with a very large audience. Some of them are people who have not a large audience of their own yet, but are the kind of people who are bringing unique perspective and value to the conversation. And one of the things that I find valuable is about the fact that you'll take a 30-minute call with almost anybody. What I find is that when I take those calls, and I'm a little more discriminating, but not that much yet, almost always I get something valuable out of the conversation, regardless of whether there is an exchange of business, or even sometimes the value of that particular conversation is what you do, the guy who knows the guy effect. Sometimes for the two people in conversation is, let me connect you with some other person, right? And some of these people who are not getting the opportunity to have the conversation, that's an opportunity cost that they don't realize they're encountering, because you and I, if we're offering with mine, and I would say almost anyone, I want to have some sense of who they are and what they think they want to talk about. But part of the thing I'm listening for is, can I connect them with someone else? Because 90% of the things that they need, problems that they're having, are not something I can help them solve. Or if I could, it would be taking me off my current journey, my current mission. I know enough other people, I can help them solve that problem. It's just I probably won't be the one that does it. I just connect them with somebody else that does. And frankly, for me personally, me professionally, one of my favorite ways of solving problems is just connecting people. Actually, I'm gonna take a longer version of this. Tell an Army story for just a second. I'm telling it as a generic story, but it actually happened specifically this way one particular time. I'm removing the names to protect the innocent. But I had my boss, a colonel, come to me and say, "Hey, the general says such and such a unit has a fuel problem. Keith, go talk to that an operations officer and solve that unit's fuel problem." And I didn't. What I did was I sent an email to in the fuel unit who I knew could solve the problem, and not the operations officer. I sent it to one of the sergeants that worked in that operations officer's section, and I said, "Talk to each other." I know that the two of you can solve this problem. And I turned around to my boss and said, "Tell the general it's taken care of." Because these two people and this operations officer, all he was going to do is go to his sergeant and say, "Yeah, go talk to Wilma over in the fuel unit." Now, I know Wilma over here, and I know Fred, and I'll just get them, two of them talking. They'll solve the problem, and we'll be okay. I love solving problems that way. Conversation with somebody, and they say, I need a roof. Keith ain't climbing on your roof and driving nails in your roof. But I know 3 roofers. I know personality-wise, which of those 3, based on my knowledge of your personality, which I would recommend. Right? But unless you tell me you need a roofer in the Pacific Northwest, I don't know that that's something that I can do to help you. By the way, I don't know any roofers in Connecticut.
I do. I know plenty. I know.
We're good.
I know at least one. Probably know others. No, I know one roofer, a couple general contractors that I'm sure have roofing resources. Yeah, no, I definitely have a couple. Roofer. That's one of the easy, common ones. So, well, it's been great having you on here. As always, I always enjoy the roundtable and connecting with the wonderful Conference 21 folks. Keith, don't forget to fill out the application for Conference 21B because you haven't filled it out yet. But that's okay. You're in good company with a bunch of our Conference 21A speakers who didn't fill it out yet either. But this is your reminder, and the reminder to any other speakers who are watching, you should fill out the application. And if you weren't a speaker at Conference 21A, but you'd like to be a speaker at Conference 21B, there is still time. The application will be open until April 15th, although the earlier you get it in, the earlier it'll get up on the website as soon as that is done. You also may notice that, that I've got Black Dragon Marketing as one of our sponsors here. That is because I am partnering with them. She's going to be making our new website. So that is in production right now because I figured I should let someone who knows what they're doing do it instead of try to figure it out myself, which is often a better way to do it. So she's excited about being involved in a big way with the conference, and I'm excited about having a website that I don't have to muddle through myself. So everybody wins. And so the sooner that the applications are filled out, the better the chance of being in the first round of the website when we get it up. So Keith, thank you very much for being on the show, and I will see you, if not sooner, at the conference in May.
Awesome, Michael.